Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. My name is Don Swanker, Chairman of the Board. I'm going to call the Jackson County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. To my left, I have Mike Steinis, Nin on my right,
Good morning.
Bjorn from IT, Lisa from the auditors.
Morning.
Brittany's in the press box on the virtual one anyway. First up, we have visitors and citizens. Anybody in the gallery or online that'd like to address the board, please remember, if you do like to address the board, stand up, state your name and your purpose. Anybody here would like to address the board this morning? We got nobody online. Not hearing anybody. We'll move on to the public hearing for the proposed ordinance 323, the private sewage proposal. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Elizabeth, you have the floor.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so today I have for you a new proposed ordinance for our private sewage disposal systems in Jackson County. We're currently running off of two ordinances, and so this is a new fully revised ordinance that would repeal the other two ordinances, and this would take both of their place. I don't know if you want me to.
You want to flip us over kind of the synopsis of the changes?
Yeah, so the majority of the changes, there's actually not a whole lot. So like we kept our permit requirements the same. The one thing that we did change with that is anybody that applies for a permit, once they apply, that fee does not get reimbursed. So if they change their mind or something changes, they don't get that fee back. The installer registration requirement, so that will stay the same. The certification that we're requiring is something that is currently already required, that the Board of Health put in place about a year ago, but now it's just written into our ordinance.
Certification for?
It's this, so it's the CWAT certification through IOWWA. It's just requiring them to pass an exam, which the county used to do the exam and require the continued education, but IOWWA was in place to basically assist counties in doing that continued education and running those exams.
You're referring to the installers now, correct?
Yes, this is for our on-site wastewater installers. So they will still need to do the registration requirement with the county, which is a $50 annual fee, and then they will be required to have their CWAT certification. The next thing that we added in that was different was connecting to existing systems. This was actually already a policy that was in place with the county that the Board of Health set in place with our previous administrator, but now it's in our ordinance. So it's just going over what is required if somebody wants to reuse their septic system if they're doing a new build, like they're tearing their house down, building up a new house. We basically want to make sure that it's going to meet the code requirements. For our commercial septic tank cleaners, we do follow chapter 68 on that. The only thing that we added in there is that we're asking the septic tank cleaners that when they're land applying or anything like that, that they're going to clean up any debris that might be distributed while they're doing that land application. So we didn't get too specific, but basically, you know, if there's garbage or waste that's aside from the septage, that they would need to remove that and dispose of it properly.
That's gonna be tough to enforce, I think, but
It is,
I
but
understand that there's a lot of things that go down the toilet nowadays that shouldn't probably.
yeah, so a lot of those debris are getting land applied, unfortunately, and integrated into our farm fields, which is not what we want. So this is something that I'll go over with each of the septic tank cleaners and just let them know that this is what we're expecting for them to clean that and dispose of it with, you know, the waste authority.
So is that up to your department to inspect that, or who inspects, does the inspection on that when they land apply? Or do we even know when they land apply?
So we contract with the DNR, so I do the inspections annually. And we don't know when they land apply, but when we do the inspections, sometimes we say, well, so we request all the records, we review everything, make sure everything matches up. And I mean, that's really it. So we don't have any, strict thing where they have to contact the department before they land apply or anything like that. Usually if I have concerns, I'll say, hey, I'd like to see you do your land application process, something along those lines, but we haven't had any issues lately.
So like their records include like volume, such thing like that?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
and
I actually-
location, of course.
Yeah, so I actually worked with the DNR a couple of years ago to kind of try to put something together, like a better form for them to follow when they're doing their land application. So they're saying, where they, where did the septic come from? How many gallons was it? Where was it land applied? What did they use for vector control? Things like that. So it should all be on there. If it's not, then, I have to say, hey, your records are incomplete. And then they go into a thing where they're not compliant, and then we work with them to get them back into compliance. I wanted to ban it, but that was brought up a few times, and I think there's only one other. I think Lynn County is maybe the only one that has it banned in the state of Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the fee is to dump somewhere, but
one of our guys takes everything to Clinton County. And I did approach the city to see if there was a possibility to bring anything here, and they said no. So then the next place would be Dubuque County. Our inspections, so I did get a little more specific on our inspections just because our previous ordinances did not go into full detail on that, and I made my job harder. So basically, we do have the virtual inspections that was approved by the Iowa DNR, so the state attorney did look at that and said that that was fine. And then, part of the inspections would be like GPSing, so like the stakes that we talked about at one point, like, because a lot of the time I can't stand out there during the inspection and like watch everything. So they'll get the virtual inspection, whether I'm able to get to the site or not. And then that just kind of helps us document everything as they're going through that construction so that we can verify that everything was done properly. And then they, would need to stake everything out at the end before they cover it, or stake it out as they're covering up so that the department can go out and GPS everything, and so that we have a proper map, which is really important for a few different factors. One would be our zoning administrator, so that when they're reviewing for a build, that they can see the actual location of the septic system, that they're going to be able to meet those setbacks. The other reason would be for any type of inspection, for a time of transfer inspection or anything like that, where they would want to know the exact location of the system. So it's going to be beneficial long term for a bunch of people.
so you're saying you can't follow some of them hand drawings as
The stick figure drawings. Yeah, I mean, our maps, some of the older maps were good, like back with like David Manning, there was some really good maps and things, but those have kind of fallen through the cracks. But yeah, so we're also gonna require the installer to put an as-built drawing together. I mean, it's hard for me to get out there and, put everything together. So they have to put that together on their design that they,
I can see some kind of a, whether it be through solutions or some kind of template. They say this is where the house is and this is where the fence is and this is,
yes.
now this is where it's at. Yeah.
Yes, so when we talked about the GPS program a couple weeks ago, that's it could put together like a what we want it to look like, and then it'll have like the app or
Visual.
yeah. So we just want to get a little more professional looking on our maps and our proposals for what a system should be instead of the stick figure. Let's see here. Our holding tanks. So we did. We just want people with holding tanks. We get a lot of requests for holding tanks. Somebody's like, well, this is just for a shop. I don't need, a full system, this and that. And I try to explain to people that, the cost of a holding tank can be much more in the long run than just having a conventional system. So we really try to just make it I don't want to say more difficult, but we say you have to keep your pumping records. You have to, see what we're looking here. Yeah, Yeah, so it's basically just saying that they have to keep all of their records, which. Just to show that, so like we have some pumpers that are not able to take septage to a wastewater treatment facility. And so if we keep the records, then I can actually go after the pumper if they're not certified, because where did they take it? So it's kind of catching both things there, but really that's the main thing. And
Are the holding tanks sized appropriately like that way too?
yeah,
Yeah.
so holding tanks have to have like a high water alarm, so they need electricity to them. They're just not ideal. They can't be land applied according to the state. So they do need to go to a wastewater treatment plant.
Good.
So really that's all of the changes. In comparison to our other two ordinances. The other one thing was that, not necessarily, so our, 250 said that we could not have shared systems. This new ordinance does allow for shared systems at the discretion of the board. So if somebody wanted a shared septic system, they would need to approach the Board of Health and say, hey, this is why we need this, and then the board would make that decision.
Board of Health or us?
Board of Health.
Okay.
I mean, it's certainly not something that we want for everybody, because any type of a shared system can become more complex. But they would be required to have their individual holding tanks unless the board otherwise, determined that wasn't necessary. But it does open up that option, which I think will be a good thing, for some cases that we're looking at currently, and that we'll be looking at in the future.
Well, there's some smaller areas and, extreme hardship, if you will call it, maybe.
Yes. Yeah, I believe these would be hardship cases.
Yeah.
I do know that we're like, as far as like the zoning department, I know that they're allowing like multiple homes on like a single piece of property that's not subdivided. And so, in a case like that, maybe this would be helpful. I'm not sure, but we didn't want to open up a can of worms with this, but at the same token, we needed some flexibility for some cases.
Good.
I have
not received any comments about the ordinance or anything.
I have neither, no calls.
There's a few people here. Any comments or concerns or?
We'd like to see it happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
We've had it for years.
Say your
Shared
name?
Judy Hubby, sorry.
Okay.
Kevin Hammond. Yeah, we're on a shared septic right now, his family.
Okay. Any other questions or?
Nope. I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I got two motions. Do I have a second?
I'll second. You got two
Motion by
seconds.
Mike, second by Nan to close the public hearing in regards to ordinance 323. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now, discussion possible action on ordinance 323.
I would make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 323 and repealing ordinances number 88 and 250 for the Jackson County private sewage disposal.
I would second that.
We got a motion by Mike, second by Nan to approve the first reading of ordinance 323 and repealing ordinances 88 and 250 for the Jackson County private sewage disposal. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a desire? Do we want to wait?
I would make a motion to suspend Robert's rules of order on the second reading.
Second and third reading.
I thought we had to do them separate.
No, to suspend the rules is for everything.
Okay, for the second and third reading on ordinance 323.
I would second.
Got a motion by Nan, second by Mike to suspend Robert's rules of orders and proceed with the second and third readings of ordinance 323. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I would also make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 323 and repealing ordinance number 88 and number 250 for the Jackson County private sewage disposal.
I would second that.
Got a motion by Mike, second by Nan to approve second reading of ordinance 323 and repealing ordinances 88 and 250 of the Jackson County private sewage disposal. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I would make a motion for the third and final reading to approve ordinance 323 and appealing 88 and 250 of the private sewage disposal.
I would second.
Got a motion by Nan, second by Mike to approve the third and final reading of ordinance 323 and repealing ordinances 88 and 250 for the Jackson County private sewage disposal. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is so officially.
Do I need to prove their signatures to it?
I will have Shelley, if you want to tell Shelley to put it on newspaper, and she can bring it over.
Okay,
All right,
sounds good.
we signed.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Good luck to you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for attending. Next up, we have Brennan Diamond, Macoka, the Chief of Police, the discussion of possible motion on opioid funds request for the police department. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors members.
Mhm.
Can I assume you guys have an application for
I
the?
did.
We do.
So what I'm looking to try to get funding for is a device called the Sotoxa Oral Fluid Mobile Test System. Generically described, it's a preliminary breath test for drugs. Admittedly, when I first looked into this, my first thought was enforcement. As when I was a patrol officer, one of the hardest decisions I had to make was when I stopped somebody and I was worried about their impairment and they were showing no signs of alcohol, is this person impaired under drugs, or are they just, don't have coordination, or is there something else going on, right? And so one of the hardest decisions to make in that position is an arrest, no arrest decision, or do I let this person go down the road? I discovered this device a handful of years ago, and it recently came up again. And so effectively, this is a PBT for drugs, a preliminary screening device for drugs. Before I went down the road, I asked a couple people. I talked to Scott Warren, who is on the Jackson County Prevention Coalition Executive Board, and said, what would you think about this? And he brought it up to the board and he said, hey, why don't you take it in front of the Board of Supervisors for approval of these opioid funding monies? From there, I went to the county attorney, John Keys, and said, hey, this is pretty new. I mean, we would be making some new case law by using it this way. Would you be in favor of this? And John was in favor of it. So I filled out the application, sent him my application. He said, looks good to me. So that's why I'm here. I'm happy to answer any questions, regarding my application. I don't know how much you want me to go over line by line, but knowing you guys have that.
I know, I just looked through, I got my schedule A and B here, and it falls within 75% of what we can spend or what we need to spend with the opioid money has to come from Schedule A, which this falls in. It makes sense to me, as wanting something, I don't know the case law as far as, when can you do a blood alcohol test, a breathalyzer test, when can you do this kind of test, but today, it does test for opioids, correct?
Correct. It
Okay,
actually does.
That's a key thing.
Yeah, it actually offers tests for 7 different drug class. Amphetamines, benzodiazepines, cannabis, cocaine, fentanyl, methamphetamines, and opiates.
Okay.
And I did some quick research, and it sounds like overall the accuracy is somewhere between 87 and 96% accurate, depending on the drug class. And then, as I kind of mentioned, my initial thought was enforcement. And then as I went through the opioid settlement application, that kind of expanded my thoughts into, okay, what about warm handoffs? Because that's one of the things we talked about. Well, in the event we have a family that's concerned, maybe they got the juvenile child that they're worried about is under the influence or using drugs. This could be a device that we could use to say, hey, we can confirm or deny that they may or may not be using, and then get that person down the road of help, because that's ultimately what we want. It could also help us on those cases where we get called to somebody acting erratically and they're not under the influence of alcohol. We don't know if it's a mental health thing or it could be drugs. And again, this is all based on compliance, because we can't force them to take this. But if they would be willing to subject to this sample and we discover they're under the influence of a substance, it could help steer them in that to get treatment. It would just help do that. And then again, same thing, even from the medical side, is when we're dealing in that situation. It might help medical personnel identify an event before it happens, because if they know somebody's coming in and they're tested positive and they're under the influence of this, maybe they can react to a situation faster in the ER, because we know they're going to test for it and have a more probably accurate device than we are, but at least it gets that information out ahead of time. The other thought I had was with corrections wise, sometimes we bring people in and maybe they're not under the influence of alcohol, but they're not, they seem a little bit out of sorts. This would also be a way for us to help out and maybe check for that to either confirm or deny they're under the influence of some sort of drug, and then get them shipped off to the hospital to make sure we're not creating a liability by exposing them to the jail environment, or confirm that no, they're not under anything, at least according to this test. So that's kind of where my envision went. And as you've seen through this, these aren't cheap tests. I think they're around $25 or $35 a shot. So maybe I did my math wrong there, but it's not something we're going to just throw out to randomly use or arbitrarily use. We're going to want to have some rationale behind it, but I appreciate the consideration for this.
So a couple questions, Brandon, is, how big a unit is this? Is it mobile? Can it be shared? Can it be used in a school setting? Things like that?
It's it says it weighing under 2 pounds. It's completely portable. Like I'm assuming it fits right in the palm of my hand. So it's
So it's like a breathalyzer.
it's
type
like a
thing.
breathalyzer test for drugs.
Okay.
And again, I think that there's just a lot of, I took this through the enforcement level when I first envisioned it, and then I started thinking, well, there's other things that we could use and benefit from this. It's an investment and
It's one machine?
one machine.
Okay.
So it takes one of these cartridges every time?
Correct. It's like you said, it's not something we're gonna use
I was gonna say, yeah.
arbitrarily or just,
$98 cartridge.
what did I see? I'm sorry. It was,
Is there
no, it was,
investment somehow for that?
so hold on.
$685 and you get 7 pencils in
Yep,
it.
you're right. So yeah, so it's an investment.
Yeah, I
My,
mean, that's just the cartridge, not counting the actual
no, I
piece of
think,
equipment.
what did I say? The overall initial investment is over $6,000.
63, 67, 47.
What I envision is, my department taking on the expense of buying the cartridges from here on out after we get the initial thing.
Budget-wise?
Yes, budget wise. I mean, that being said, I do have to watch out for my budget, so I can't be saying, hey, the jail, just tell me when you want to use one. I'll happily bring one down.
Right.
We can make that accessible, but maybe we need a partnership with the other agencies with that expense.
Well,
If we
I
look
guess
at
while
that.
the sheriff is sitting here, is this something you guys have or would be interested in having?
If we don't have it, we'd be interested in it. That's what I was wondering is it gonna be shared across our agencies or do we have to get our own?
Or do we look at, I mean, I would assume the cartridges would fall under an okay agreement for use of.
And if we did that, I think we definitely want to go with the 7-panel one, because that is the one I think that covers the fentanyl as well. And yeah, I mean, I have no problem with
They have the
us.
same price.
Yeah, and I envision us using this as a county-wide tool or making it available. Would it be beneficial for another agency to have one? Sure. I mean,
I would agree.
so if that's, I'll let you all decide that. I would say.
I'm thinking on the liability side, we might save ourselves a bunch of anguish here by getting ahead of the horse in front of the buggy and keep it there and say, hey, we tested and this is why.
I just know there's exposure to certain drugs and stuff, with their sweat and perspiration. If you know what they got,
Right.
you know more how to protect yourself, type of thing. So honestly,
Julie, any input?
I've not seen any of these. I have no idea if there's evidence behind them. Creating case law, I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
how much John wants to put in it, writing every case that goes through, because it's not an evidence base. Or maybe it is, I haven't looked, but that would be,
And even if you looked at it for
So I guess,
more of a prevention to help,
I'll-
not necessarily a prevention, but
but I'll speak
kind
on.
of steering. the
I'll
right
speak
way.
on that level though, too. Those preliminary breath tests we use in the field, those aren't admissible in court. They've been around for decades. But yet, if, when I'm on a roadside stop and somebody's under the influence of alcohol and I offer one of those can't be used in court. Now, the state has allowed it to be used in the determination of going down to invoke implied consent to ask for that official breath test. But any information about that PBT or preliminary breath test gets redacted and isn't allowed unless the defense attorney allows it in. So this is where I would look at this being the same way. It's more of a peace of mind for an officer to say, at least on the prosecution side of it is, I've done my sobriety test, I've done my all the panel that for alcohol and drugs. This is a way for me to make that no arrest decision in that moment. When I talked to John said, yeah, he goes, I even wonder, instead of invoking implied consent, we have this. Do we just go down the road of a search warrant? And maybe we'll have to see if judges approve this as a useful tool to ask for a search warrant. As far as impaired driving wise, that is something that's coming down the line. We haven't seen it here, but there's more of a recommendation on that second and third offense for that. They want us to avoid even invoking implied consent and going straight to a warrant search and getting a blood draw for it. So absolutely, this is sorry.
So to use this, is it like a breathalyzer? Do they blow through it, or is it a saliva tester? Or?
So it looks like there's a cartridge that goes into the machine,
Yeah.
and then the saliva tester gets put in, sampled by the subject, and then the sample goes into the machine, and that's when you get your readout.
Well, I just look as if you're out on the call or something, you get somebody that's obviously impaired, the breathalyzer passes, they pass this, then you know you definitely got a medical issue type of thing, so.
Right.
Yeah, I
It-
mean,
you know-
that's what I was gonna bring up.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's-
I'm sure we've all been on calls where,
A diabetic.
oh, they're drunk, they're whatever, and no, it's a diabetic issue.
I made that mistake really early in my career. I can
Yes.
tell you right where it happened, where I'm like, oh, I think he's drunk. And whoever the paramedic was, that they give off that sweet smell when they're
Yeah.
under, and I was new and had no clue. And that was an educational spot for me. So
So,
We just had to stop. I don't know, in the last 6 months, maybe it's been a year, a guy that we could not figure out what was wrong with him, had no indication of alcohol. Didn't give any diabetic signs or anything, but we just finally took him to the hospital. And turns out he was having another stroke and they airlifted him to Iowa City. Because of that, once we finally got a hold of family members, but you would have had no indication because he didn't self-report any diabetic stuff or anything. So it's just a good thing we stuck with it and took him to the hospital, because otherwise he might have ended up dead if he had just kept going down the road. But anyway,
I guess the one question I have at this point would be, okay, you're asking for one, that's the way it is on the agenda. If we wanted to get two, so the sheriff department had one, is that possible, or does that have to be a separate ask?
You probably have to fill out the application.
and I would happily share my application with the sheriff, and then he could basically cut and paste and put the sheriff's office in it as well.
Give it another month.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I guess the other question I have is these panels, of course, I assume we would use them to some extent. Is there an expiration to them?
That's a good question. I
I see this stuff on the shelf. We
Yeah,
have this noxious, whatever on the shelf, and then it expires, and we have pads and that expire and we never use them.
I am unprepared to answer that. I apologize.
That's fine. It was a question I thought of. Yeah, I assume that they're usable for an extended period of time. But
And I
Canned goods expire.
Yeah.
And I did a quick Google search before I came, and I know I seen it somewhere when I originally looked into this, but there's even a window for usage wise. Like, I can't have used 3 days ago and I'm gonna test positive for this. So there's a window that it'll basically say, oh, no, because you haven't used it in a couple days. When I looked it up, it said that window was somewhere between 24 and 48 hours. So we're talking pretty recent usage when it comes to this, which at least from what I found. So that helps us with that idea of getting them help medically or not introducing them into our facilities. So that's kind of the safety aspect of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't hear a lot of remediation of opioid related, because that's not what Schedule A is. I mean, it sounds like a great enforcement tool and a safety tool for the officers. I have no issue with that. Just make sure it fits under remediation, because that's what Schedule A is.
I don't understand what you're,
To remediate the effects of opioids is to help people deal with the effects of opioid use,
Uh-huh.
addiction or whatever. Keeping the officers safe is great. But just make sure it fits when you get audited. Are you remediating?
I mean, I'm looking at the examples that he
Which
used as far as justification on Schedule A, expansion of warm hands-off programs and recovery services. And he used,
Treatment for
treatment for
incarcerated.
incarcerated personnel. I mean,
Okay, that's not what the discussion sounded like, but that's fine. If that's what they're gonna do. That's great.
The other part to that, I
That's
guess I'm,
part of what he talked about was, not necessarily for being punitive as far as charging people for drugs. It was more, do we need to take them to a treatment facility versus taking them to a jail? Or do they need to,
Yeah, I see.
family members need to look at, yeah, my son is using.
and maybe I'm misunderstanding this too, but I don't like using the term gateway drugs, but very rarely does somebody start probably with an opioid or that. So part of this is that prevention before we get there. And if we can identify somebody that might be using or here before we're completely down the rabbit hole, that's part of that too, which is part of the prevention aspect of it.
And my other thing, so what if somebody's legally using an opioid because they are a legal medication and that shows up?
So
You would have a prescription.
Usually
Yes.
would self-report that.
And then on there's, as far as driving while impaired, there's nanograms per milliliter levels that dictate that. Now, I'll use the example, and I just know this one off the top of my head, so I apologize, but THC or cannabis, that's 50 grams per nanogram per milliliter, that if they're over that, they're considered to be impaired. And if they're under that, they're not. So if for the opioids thing, if it's a prescription drug, as long as they're not abusing it and following medical advice, they shouldn't be above those nanograms per milliliters in driving. I don't want to talk too much about it because it's actually an active case that this happened, but we had the hospital want a welfare check because somebody got told that they shouldn't drive and they drove on a narcotic and ended up being prosecuted for driving while impaired because they're abusing their medication. That was the report that came in. So I mean, it's, even though it's a prescribed medication, there's also knowns for abuse for that too.
Right. I see it as being almost, pretty helpful in the jail setting, actually, because if somebody's scared to self-report to law enforcement when they come in the jail, and so they don't want to tell you what drug they're on, and they may have an issue in the jail because they didn't seem like they needed to go to the hospital before we would admit them in the jail. And I'm thinking from the perspective of, even the Coconut PD, they bring somebody in, they seem fine, we take them in the jail, we have no idea, next thing you know, they're seasoned or whatever, and then now we have an emergency to go to the hospital, the liability of that. And the way things are going down the road is just like with, you might have to help me out here. Where we provide them the medication to come down.
Medication assisted treatment.
Yes, MOUD so that we don't cold turkey cut them off and then they have a medical emergency because of it. This would be helpful in knowing what they've taken. So we know how to treat them. And if we have to legally provide them the legal way of coming down off those drugs too, remediate them, get them off the drugs, and maybe they don't go back on them. Get them clean while they're in the jail, the safe medical way of doing that.
so looking at the schedule here, the actual, I'm looking at the under Schedule A, Item G, prevention programs, number 5, funding and training for first responders to participate in pre-arrest program, diversion programs, post-overdose response team, and similar strategies to connect at-risk individuals, behavioral health. I mean, this is just identifying that there's some kind of thing going on. I mean, this to me, of all the things we've done other than the deterrent bags or whatever, this seems like a kind of like a no-brainer thing, but it's almost like all of a sudden we got to argue semantics on whether we can identify if somebody's taking opioids or not. Whether they're taking opioids, legal or illegal, if they're operating a motor vehicle while under the influence. Most opioids, if you're under them, you're not supposed to drive. So you're not, it falls into just like alcohol. It's a legal thing. But if you got too much in your system and you're driving, you're impaired, you're breaking the law. So to me, this is just an identifier thing, it makes sense.
I just think the results of this test, whatever it would be excellent information on your report.
Yeah.
You don't know, I mean, it just sounds like you have a backup again for reason for testing if there was a question that, any question that, but.
Part of our gripe with the legislation is, okay, great, we have this opioid funding, but nobody can figure out how to spend it. So if this can somehow meet the criteria, it's like, what is going on with this funding that nobody can figure out a way to spend it? I mean, it's like the parameters are too tight on it.
Well, other counties are spending, the Butte County spends about $3 million a year there. I mean, there are ways to do it, but yeah, I mean, that's what you're comfortable with. And as long as that's what it's used for, that's great. That they're using it for warm handoffs, it's not just to arrest people.
Mhm.
I would make a motion to approve the request from Coconut Chief for Police Brennan Zimet for $6,367.47 to purchase an oral fluid mobile test system and accessories for opioid settlement funds.
Good job. I would second that.
We got a motion by Mike, second by Nin to approve the request from Wacokota Chief of Police Brendan Zimet for $6,367.47 to purchase Saloxa, or however you say it, oral fluid and mobile test system and accessories from opioid settlement funds. Any other discussion? How do you feel about this, Auditor? You? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You betcha.
Good luck. Let us know how.
We'll do it. I do think it'll be a great addition for the.
Practice cartridges or something, because you don't want to be spending.
No,
100 bucks
exactly.
To be training.
Yeah,
your
you won't be
officers.
blowing under
I
now.
mean, you're gonna have to do some type of training
Yes.
to be
Yep.
qualified.
Yeah, I admittedly, when I started thinking about this before it came here, I was like, I should have had a little bit of that more too, and I apologize.
I mean, you guys interact too here and figure
And I-
out how
and I
it's
would-
gonna work out.
Yeah, and I would ask you and Brett to talk about it, look at it, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely.
All right, next up is Julie Fern, interim drug-free communities program coordinator.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. The kids are back in school, but they created a PowerPoint and a video, which Lisa told me that was sent to you. I don't know if we want to share them.
What do you want to start with, Julie?
Let's do Taylor's, well, do the PowerPoint. That'll make more sense. Thank you. We tried to get them here, but there was football camp and kids are in stuff. So it didn't work super well, but they did create some pictures and a PowerPoint. So there's our 5 kiddos.
Okay, get it to a share screen.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
The public can see.
And 3 of the kids got together and made this. So it's ironic, the tall kid, he's the youngest. Yeah, him and his sister, who's the one second from the left, are 7th and 8th graders.
So did he get a
Wow.
football scholarship while he was down there in Florida?
Yes.
There's so many.
Yeah.
Anyway, so those are our 3 kiddos. So they went to 6 different sessions, 3 hours at a pop. And they went over their learning objectives. So the first one was Be in the Know Youth Conference and Innovative Youth-Led Prevention. So they had to tell the other kids in the group, there's about 50 in each room, what they work on in Bellevue. Then they got ideas from the other kids and how they can bring it back to their community. We were in a room with small communities.
Right. Hang on.
Sorry.
Hey, can you guys go out in the hallway, sir? Appreciate that.
So they were in a room with other kids from small, and small was under 50,000 because it was a nationwide conference. So
Right.
you have to define your terms. So they looked at things like mental health in their schools. What can they do to help their peers? What can they do for substance abuse prevention? So that was the first session. Can you switch it, please? Second was Beyond Arguments, Debate, Dialogue, and the Skills That Actually Change Minds. They loved this one. They had to get up and try and convince other people to not drink, and learn the difference between what is a debate, dialogue, conversation, and promotion. It was really learning how to sell an idea. And part of it's by example, part of it's in the language you use and how you present it. And this was their favorite with Nigel, and he's been a trainer forever. He's from Oregon and he does a really nice job. Session 3, from compliance to authentic involvement. And some of that was for the adults to let the kids truly have, give them guardrails, but let them go and do prevention the way they see it because they're living it and we're not. So they brought home how to do youth and adult collaboration, where it's not the adults telling the kids what to do, but adults giving the kids, guide rails to keep them safe. So we came back with some ideas. They're meeting actually next Friday, and they're gonna start some of this. They did talk with Mike Hilmer, the superintendent at Bellevue, about some things they want to do, and he's all on board. So that's good. Session 4, how to have a meeting where you ask for something. Because prevention is usually asking someone to do something or asking a board or someone to fund something. So they learned how to do that. Session 5, strengthening teamwork within your coalition or youth group. And so how to get new members. We had some graduates this year who've been with the program for 6 years. So we need some new younger people. And so they worked on how to strengthen teamwork and to get new members. And the last session was, so the young lady in the tie-dye shirt doesn't talk. She is extremely introverted, and she stood up and was like talking to this group, and it is so rewarding to watch these kids blossom, who are kids who don't participate in stuff, who don't talk. And so she is amazing. Taylor, she's one of our graduates, but she is going to Augustana, and she's already joined the group there that does the same work. So that's good stuff. Oh, the corn scorpions, we got grouped with the kids from Arizona. And like, what is your state known for? Well, our kids said corn. And apparently Arizona said scorpions. That's not what I would have said, but that's what they said. So they became the corn scorpions. But they came up with ideas and brainstormed together with these kids from like the desert part of Arizona, probably where the scorpions are.
Mm-hmm.
And session 6, planning together toward the common goal, getting people on board with you. So they did these 6 sessions. They were busy every day from 8 to noon, and then 1:30 till 4:30. There was a group's like plenary session. They didn't do a presentation on that. That was the first day, and then there was a closing. So that was our 4 days. And that's our step. So some of these kids have never flown. The furthest I've been is Davenport. So like the alligators and that they funded that. They fundraised. That does not come out of the grant. Any of the fun stuff does not come out of the grant. But it's kind of fun for them to expand their horizons. I've taken a lot of kids on their first flight, did that with 2 of them this time. That's always an adventure. But just for them to just be out and about, and we do have some fun. But if they're with Julie, they know they have to go to the whole conference because they see a lot of kids skip out in the afternoon. We don't play that. It's a lot of money to go. You're going to the conference. And at this point, they don't buck about it because they know it's the rule. So yeah, that was our trip. And Taylor wanted to thank you for her time in the program with the coalition. And that would be the video.
Hi. My name is Taylor DeWitt. I went with the group to Florida this year for CADCA mid-year. This was my 2nd time in Florida and my 4th mid-year. It's always a different experience depending on the group that goes with and who we listen to for speakers. They had a lot of interesting options this year, totally different than years before, which I think is awesome. This year, I think a lot of the speakers focused on leadership and working on teamwork, which I think is important, especially with the middle school and high school groups that are attending for the youth conference, of course. At the same time we were out there, they had the Fentanyl Free America Summit. So they were a part of our choices. So like there was a few that we would have been able to attend, but we didn't think that they would have been what we were looking for as a group just to be able to apply at the school. So it was really fantastic. We spent a lot of time with Yuri Mark, which you'll see in the presentation, whether that's before or after this video, I'm not sure. But I think we went to 3 of her different ones. I think we saw a total of 6 different presentations. But she had a lot that focused on like youth specifically and being able to apply it to the community. The other ones were kind of broader, and I just think it's easier to learn in a more closed-in space. So that was really helpful. We got to go to one of Nigel Rangham, I think is his last name. We got to go to his presentation, which was awesome. He was one of my favorite presenters the first year that I went when I was just going through the key essentials track that everybody's required to go through for the conference. He gets you out of your seat a lot, so you're able to move around, which I think is helpful for the shorter like attention spans with younger groups. So that was kind of cool. And I think being able to reflect between how the different presentations worked together to like build our understanding of how we can speak to our fellow youth and things like that, especially in our community. We got to talk to so many different people from bigger cities and smaller towns like ours, which I think was really helpful to get some perspective. We had a lot of kids from New York and Virginia that were in our groups that were speaking a lot. And one of our presentations was done by a prevention group in, I think it was Massachusetts, which was very interesting because the culture is totally different up there. So that was very cool to hear about. So I won't take up too much time, but I had a phenomenal time and I learned so much. And I think being able to go for multiple different years has really helped me grow as a person and be able to learn and apply myself in all kinds of situations inside of youth prevention conversations and just in the real world with public speaking and things like that. So I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity and all of the opportunities you've given me before to get to go to things like this because it's awesome. So I hope this is continued in the future as I am going on to college. So thank you so much and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.
I don't have pictures of her when I met her. The kids we serve usually office referral. They have lots of high risk things. And she's going to Augustana for art education for elementary students. She will be amazing at it. But we're so proud of her. She's done really great things. She had presented in front of 500 kids. She stood up and did a presentation by herself for 45 minutes and told them about Bellevue, Iowa, and what they do. So there really is growth to see.
Awesome.
So that was the event.
I think it's a great idea and I think it's a great program. I just hope that they can, like she said, and like you said, is to sell this idea to their fellow students and to youth preservation and forward that on into the school system, more school systems. That, if she's willing to make presentations like that, I think it's great.
So last
To kids her own age,
they did an core measure survey because it's required by the grant. And if you're looking at the numbers, they are going down and Bellevue's are going down faster than the rest of the county. Because I think the kids are working on it. When you look at Bellevue numbers, their decline has been consistently better. I mean, it's good everywhere. It's going in the right direction, but Bellevue, it's notable to me. And I think a lot of it is those kiddos. When you got 20 kids in the school, and honestly, it's not a huge school, going around encouraging kids to do the right thing and make good, healthy choices, it does make a difference.
Is Macoka participating now? For a while, it seemed like Macoka was not participating.
They were, and then the teacher that we had brought in left. So we
Okay.
got to start over again this year because that's how life goes.
Yep. Okay.
She was actually the JAG teacher when Monique left. So we'll have to find a new person.
Okay. Any questions for Julie?
No. Thank you for letting us and them do that. 2 adult coalition members did go as well to the adult track. And then a mom went with one of the kids because of she couldn't. So it was a party of 10 that went. Just so you know, you're going to see the expense. One kid on Friday, we had to ask her not to come. She made a bad choice over the 4th of July. And there were some legal consequences, and in good conscience, we can't take you to a prevention conference. Even though we had already paid for everything, we had to say no. She's still welcome to join the group and hopefully make better choices in the future, but I'm not traveling with her.
Can I ask a side question?
Absolutely.
Last week, there was Deputy Crocker or Chief Deputy Crocker was here talking about a manning study for Sheriff's Department, paying it with opioid funds. How does that translate into the Schedule A and Schedule B? Because to me, the only way it does is if you say 100% of the manning is for opioid prevention.
If that study said that you needed to fund someone to be like a special assigned officer to it, and that's what they came with, and you need this many hours in these trainings, then I think you said, here's the opioid problem. I don't know that that's how they want to use it. And I talked to him about it at great length.
Mhm.
If they're just wanting to know how to staff things in general, it doesn't. But if they're really looking at, we have this identified drug problem, we have these many people, and we need someone with the special skills, and they need these trainings, and they can help them figure that out. They need this coverage, and we need these trainings. That would be, again, that warm handoff. But again, if he just wants a general study and this is 1% of it, that's a stretch.
That's where,
That's what we kind of.
that's where we were,
Does that?
that's the way it seemed like it was being presented.
Cause he asked me what trainings or what skills you would want someone to have, and I'm like, well, there's expert, and I can list them all that to do those warm handoffs.
Could it fund a drug dog? And like an officer training for a drug dog, if it's trained for opioids?
Drug dogs don't do opioids.
Okay, then that would be no.
No, they do cocaine. There's a list of drugs.
Okay.
And marijuana is even tricky now because they're all trained the same. In many states, it's legal, so it doesn't even work on marijuana anymore. Drug
Okay.
dogs are less and less than they used to be because of the way legalization.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Phyllis.
I'm sorry.
Next up, we have Lisa, the auditor.
Good morning. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the August 18th, 2026 meeting as written by Auditor Smith and authorized publication in the official newspapers.
I would make that motion.
I would second.
Got a motion by Nan, second by Mike to approve the minutes of the August 18th, 2026 meeting as written by Auditor Smith and authorized publication in official newspapers. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve and authorize the auditor's office to issue warrants in the publication of the claims listing in the amount of $521,612.95.
So moved.
Second that.
Got a motion by Mike, second by Nan to approve and authorize the auditor's office to issue warrants and the publication of the claims listing in the amount of $521,612.95. And for the public, there was our biannual or our semi-annual allotment to the libraries in the county. There was about $60-some thousand in rock. There was a $222,000 land purchase, and there was about a $78,000 payment for Vanguard and stuff for the big high ticket items. And a lot of those are contractual things. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all that I have for the board today.
All right, next up, we got Jaden Shekel, the county engineer.
Morning.
He's got a list of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, first thing on our agenda is a public right-of-way agreement for the address of 2705 446 Sixth Avenue, Preston. So I know you were all made aware, but earlier this summer, it was noticed that there was a structure that was added onto. There was a lean-to, or the structure was added onto, and that addition was done in the county right-of-way without any proper well, not that we allow permits to do stuff in the county right away, but there was no permits whatsoever. It was noticed, it was done. Worked with the county attorney's office on path forward, and they drafted up. They have a call to action. Drafted up an agreement and revocable license regarding use of public road right of way. And it's a pretty extensive document that explains a bunch of stuff, but ultimately we as the county would not be liable, say, should in any event, whether it's snow plowing or whatever, something gets hit or damaged, we are not liable for any of the damage that occurs to it. This agreement is it runs with the land, so it's as if there's any owner's heirs, successors, or gets sold to a different whoever the new owner of said parcel is that this structure is on, this agreement runs with the land, not
Perpetual.
correct. And it's also in there that, it doesn't also eliminate the county from, if ever in the future it is decided that it needs to come down, we are not limited in that, but it's really just an agreement to eliminate our liability for something that shouldn't be there. I feel like this is the most civil route to go to start off with.
So we've been looking at this for a couple months now, and we reviewed the agreement that you have, and we reviewed. We all looked at the site probably. I think it was imperative that we do have something drawn up, and everybody agreed to it. I think it takes liability completely off of them.
Yes, and this would be, it's formatted as such that it would be recorded, and the property owner did sign the agreement notarized, so they are aware of this agreement and everything, and I've actually spoken to the individual face to face about it, so.
How do we discourage this from happening again? Because we don't want to have it make a habit of having people just
So that,
build in the right of way and say, oh, you did an agreement or whatever, because again,
yeah, I don't want this to be thought of as, oh, this is allowed and the county just come up with an agreement, because that is not the case. Yeah, we don't, it's not encouraged at all to do this, that if it is ever noted, do we just work with the county attorney's office, and is there ways to just start making them remove it? I guess
I would
that
say-
would,
Do not test.
yeah, there's no way in a allowance for future occurrences for whether it's this parcel or any other within the county. I don't know the best way to state.
And that
but-
was one of my concerns, and I think I stressed that even when we talked about that was, we don't want this to be a normal occurrence, because in all actuality, this could end up, if something would happen to this part of the structure that is in the right of way, it could end up damaging the rest of your structure, which is totally on the property owner too, so
Mhm.
that's a liability that he is definitely taking by having that there.
I would make a motion to approve the public right of way agreement with Tom and Beth McNeil as presented.
I would second that.
we got a motion by Mike, second by Nin to approve the right of way agreement for Tom and Beth McNeil at 2705 446th Avenue of Preston. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is an entrance permit for Sydney Cornelison on 446th Avenue, Van Buren Township, section 28 is residential entrance. We did the site checks, it meets all that. No culvert is required as it all flows away to the stream that's right nearby. So everything looks good, our department's perspective, so we recommend approval.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Nin, second by Mike to approve the residential entrance permit for Sydney Cornelison, Van Buren Township, section 28, 446th Avenue. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And we'll just stay on the subject of 446th Avenue.
Seems to be a theme so far. 3 for 3.
This one, so we had this utility permit for Black Hills Energy for a natural gas line. I was holding off on this until such stuff was figured out with the stuff prior on the agenda. But this is for boring of a natural gas line, a service under 446th Avenue at McNeil residence to serve their structure that was in question or earlier on the agenda here. I called Black Hills and verified it is a 1-inch service line, because they are showing 4-inch, but they are extending 4-inch outside the right of way where they have easement from the landowners outside of the right of way. They're extending 4-inch, but what's going to be in our right of way will be a 1-inch gas line. And it will be 10 to 12 feet deep under the roadway. So falls within all the requirements listed in our utility permit. So I just wanted to clarify some of that stuff with them, and given those clarifications, and that is also noted on this permit, that we recommend approval for this utility permit.
I'll make a motion to approve the boring of the natural gas line under 446th Avenue as presented.
I would second that.
We got a motion by Mike, second by Nin to approve the utility permit for Black Hills Energy, Van Buren Township, section 28 on 446th Avenue for an underground right-of-way gas line. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And last but not least is a resolution regarding the temporary 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. So I know everybody's aware that Senate file, whatever number it was, basically effective July 1st, the statutory speed limit became changed from 55 to 60. And as such, all of not only us county, but the DOT are doing studies on our affected roadways. So What this resolution does is outlines all of said roads that are currently posted at 55, because this does not affect the ones that are posted for something other, like, for example, Codfish or 35th Street is posted at either 40 or 35. So since there's an ordinance that states that that is unaffected by this, these are purely the ones that are posted at 55. And there's a handful of them, but so this resolution will allow that to temporarily be 55 in order for our department to do an engineering study on these affected roadways to determine what the appropriate speed can be, or what is the county's preference should be for those roads. So with that, maybe there are some roads that could be 60, but maybe the county collectively prefers to leave it at 55. And as such, we'd have to have an ordinance, but ultimately, we should do a study on these roads to determine what is the appropriate speed for these roadways.
So just so we understand, this is not real easy as far as liability issue. You got passing lanes, you've got markings, they're not designed for that speed limit. You've got curves in the road that are not designed. Do we need to put more signs up? Do we need to do this? Do we need to change our striping? Do we need to move our stop sign,
Rumble strips.
rumble strips? For liability reasons,
Yeah, it's not
you
as,
can't just put a sign up and say the speed limit 60 miles an
Well,
hour.
I noticed on, we're doing the, Bernard Road.
Mhm.
I drove it, last weekend. And one of the first big left turns before you go down the hill to Crabtown, there's the hazard arrows like, hey, there's a corner here, pay attention,
Mhm.
those were never there before. And I'm sitting there thinking, is this because of the speed limit now? So those kind of corners are required to have that?
So the ones that we just put up on the Bernard Road were done for a 55 mile an hour, and they will be also, if they were needed for 55, they will also be
Okay.
or needed for 60, but because at that time, we didn't know this was even going to be a consideration, so that one was even for a 55 to sign appropriately, but ultimately, to answer your question, yes, there are most likely going to be some roads that don't have those chevrons for those curves that may need chevrons if the county were to decide to take them to 60.
Right.
And that's where maybe it gets to a deciding factor. Like, I'm just going to say the Caves Road, for example. Let me step back. The device that is used to measure the curve, it's called a ball bank indicator. And it's a device that's used to measure these horizontal curves to tell if chevrons are needed. You take it at certain speeds and it gives you certain reading, yada, yada. Well, say when we get that device, which is actually supposed to be showing up today, that once we start testing these roads in the Caves Road, for example, if we take it at 60 miles an hour and it starts saying that chevrons are going to be needed, just say on half the curves, okay, the road could be 60 with that change, but is that a change the county's willing to do? Because not only are the signs costly, but there's ongoing maintenance because you have to maintain the retroreflectivity. They're going to be subject with snow plowing. They're going to get hit mowing. I mean, there's a long-term maintenance for that. If it's just one curve on a long stretch of road, maybe that's no big thing, but if it's going to warrant every curve to be chevron, it doesn't warrant, but those are things we'll have to evaluate.
My question, can we just say we want to maintain all of our roads at 55?
I think we do the study.
You need an ordinance to do that. Now that the statutory has changed from 55 to 60, if you want to keep it at 55, there would need to be an ordinance stating that. Since it's something different than the statutory, which we can do, it would just be,
So at this
you need to have
point,
the notice.
at this point, whatever it says, if it says 55, it's 55.
Correct.
Again, this is another unfunded mandate.
Yeah,
By the way.
I mean, that's my thing. It's like, in the long run, this is gonna cost us a lot of money.
Well,
And we all know that you raise that to 60, and for anybody in Jackson County who has drove, for example, the Caves Road, can you drive it faster than that? Yes. Can you do it safely? No. What type of risk are you putting your county in just to
And I think
to allow this 5 miles an hour? And then, as we all know, it's really gonna be 10 miles an hour increase because everybody believes in that little 5.
no, it'll be 5 miles an hour because 55, they're doing 60. At 60, they're gonna be doing 65. I agree, I would love to keep them at 55, but there's gonna be expense either way. We keep it at 55. I noticed coming back from Des Moines, I came up through Tipton and stuff, and the counties to the south have all posted 60 miles an hour. So now if we maintain 55, when they hit the Jackson County border, there will need to be a 55-mile-an-hour stop sign or speed warning sign placed on all those roads. So either way, we're gonna have the expense of signage, because if we stay 55, the other counties are not. We have to then alert people that we're
Because
going.
Jones County has made their switch to 60. So
Yep.
E17, for example, by Canton, we're gonna have to put a 55, maybe our department already did, because they told me in advance that they were gonna change to 60.
Yep.
But so there's a 60, ours is 55. So where there was no a sign, not previously, there either will be or now is a sign. And with that,
I see them signs being a lot fewer to place than the chevrons or replacing all your 55s to 60s. I mean, there's a lot more of them in the county than just adding a handful of Jackson County's 55.
This ain't over.
no, so
So,
what this will allow us to do is to temporarily keep it at 55 until we can do a study, and then depending on the results, we can collectively get back together and figure out what is the count in the county's best interest, what is the plan that should be implemented, because I do feel like there will be some roads that realistically could be 60, but with very minimal change, not even with any chevrons, but just simply adjusting the no passing zones, which we have to annually get our roads restriped, the center lines every year anyway. So at that point, it's really I'd like to view it as a no cost. If it means extending it, like, it'd be very minimal if it's extending it like 50 feet is all. But
I would make a motion to approve the temporary 55 miles speed limit resolution as presented.
Is that a resolution?
1207 -08 -25 -2026.
right, second.
We have a motion by Mike, second by Nin, to approve resolution 1207-08-25-26, a resolution setting temporary 55-mile-an-hour speed limit for designated roads until we can do a study. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
that's all I had on construction. Give a brief update on construction. A lot has changed. Kenilworth Bridge, they are still working on the decking. They're probably weather dependent, as with everything. It seems like I say that, but about 2.5 weeks out from getting ready to pour the deck. They're still working on decking and placing a lot of steel, and it's a 300 and some foot long bridge, so it takes a long time to do the decking on that. But about 2.5 weeks out from that, tentatively. Bernard Road overlay, all the concrete is poured. Contractors working on the last few touching up items, like we've had some rains a week or so ago that they have to touch up the drainage shoulders that kind of washed out. There's gotta be some seeding done out there. The rumble strips have got to be grinded and pavement markings applied, so we're nearing the end of that.
I noticed, again, traveling that road,
Mhm.
there was one spot that looked like there was a section filled with blacktop. I don't know if there was there was traffic behind me, so I did stop and look. But then also, then also we kind of lose some of our fillets, if you want to, what do we call these little extensions on the roads?
So
They get a little bit, but not like we did with the blacktop, yeah.
Yeah, so in the past, kind of would carry that pavement like 150 feet. And I guess I'll be honest, I did not make that far. I made it just enough to where our grader can blade the gravel road where his nose isn't sticking out into or the front end of the machine isn't sticking out to the traveling lanes.
So I guess in the future, I would just maybe what the difference would be to go 50 feet or something, just because you use them intersections, the rumble strips and the washboarding is just minimal anymore, it's eliminated almost.
Looking back, that one, I think it's 167th Street, the one that goes to Street Cemetery. That one, looking at it now, it's like, I probably should have carried that a little bit further because it is a pretty aggressive incline or decline, however you want to view it. Probably would have warranted making that one a little bit.
I don't know how much the difference in cost would be, but I just think them things are, you look at some of these roads that are done and have them approaches to them is even with the snow removal, it melts off so much quicker and it's just bare, it's just much more safer.
Yeah, so we can just take a closer look as we do our next road project, which will probably be not next year's because all those paved, I think already, but the year after the Case Road when we do that.
I got a question. Do you know, so at Bernard in Dubuque County, did they do a pavement overlay on that also going west?
Yes, Dubuque County did a concrete overlay
Yeah.
on Higginsport Road.
Yeah.
The same contractor as ours, so it worked out pretty convenient for them to get done with Jackson County, just move 5 miles up the road to
It
Dubuque
was
County.
closed the other day when we went and talked to Des Moines, but yeah, it was, I seen it was all pavement or concrete, yeah.
So yeah, that is, I believe, when talking with Russ, the previous Dubuque County engineer, I believe that is their first concrete overlay as well in Dubuque County, so.
And that road needed it.
Yeah, I don't know what the rest, how much they can do with the rest of their roads, given their topography is even probably worse than ours as far as narrow roads, but yeah, that is their first and the same contractors are
nice.
that we had, so.
All right, so that's all you got. So John on his way.
You don't know, you need to call him.
All right, why don't we take a brief recess? All right, we'll go ahead and reconvene at this time. Jaden, you have the last thing on the agenda?
Yep, so we would like to request a closed session in compliance with Iowa Code 21.51J as it relates to a real estate purchase.
I'd make a motion to go into closed session.
I would second that.
We got a motion by Mike, second by Nin to go into closed session per Iowa Code 21.5, para 1, subparagraph J in regards to a possible real estate purchase. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're down in closed session.
Well, that's hard to keep up, around the whole county. Again, we got over 600 or 800 miles total. Is that somewhere in the range? So if you use both sides of the road, that's 1,600 miles. 33 feet from center, that's a lot of territory. So again, we appreciate very much landowners, helping us out, taking care of, maintenance and whatnot on these. I know some of it got neglected and they admitted to that a lot. It got neglected a little bit with the fences coming out or the fences you can't see anymore, but we sure appreciate you helping out anyway.
Can I make one interjection here?
Sure.
When we restarted this meeting, the Zoom session may have been on mute, so just for clarification here. That there was a motion by Stein, a second by Flagel to proceed as discussed in the closed session on a potential real estate purchase. And that was, the vote was all ayes. So just in case it did not get recorded, I'm
Okay.
clarifying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? I know it was good. I know there's a couple counties around us that are thinking of proceeding through things that we have gone through, jail or, building jails, things like that. So there was a lot of picking brains and sharing ideas and thoughts of which way to go, which way not to go. So it's always very informative being out there. So, with that being said,
Motion to adjourn.
I would second.
got a motion by Nin, second by Mike to adjourn. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Have a good day, everybody.